Oh, hello! Don't you hate when people start videos like that as if they're completely surprised that there's a video camera in the room? And then they just launch into this impromptu dissertation on whatever subject. I don't know, basket weaving or something. Anyways, no, I knew you were coming. I want to talk tonight about this criticism that I've received a number of times, and I got it in a private message the other day. And I'm sure every outspoken atheist has sort of encountered this argument at some point or another, in some form or another. And that's the criticism that atheism is the easy path, that it's easier to tear things down than it is to build them up. And despite the wisdom that a sentiment like this would seem to inherit from the Jedi of all places, I have to dispute it. I don't think it's the case. I don't think it applies fairly to atheism. Anyways, I was sitting here home alone on a Friday night, 26-year-old male by the way, and cleaning a revolver. Pathetic, isn't it? And inspiration struck. Don't ask me how my mind works, it's a mystery. Anyways, it occurred to me that I've taken this thing apart. I've taken this revolver. It's a Colt 1851 Navy model revolver. It's quite economical, as a matter of fact. There are no frills, there are no bells, there are no whistles. It's pure sex. I mean, it's just everything has a function, everything has a role. And what I've done is I've deconstructed it in order to clean it. Now, it occurred to me that there's a difference in this. There's a difference between the word deconstruction and destruction, and I think it's an important difference. I think it's best summarized by the fact that when you deconstruct a thing, you're able to reassemble it, and it carries on with the same function it had before you deconstructed it. On the other hand, if you destroy a thing, well, its function is destroyed along with it, at least its original function. I mean, this thing could be destroyed, but it'd probably still work pretty successfully as a club. Anyways, I don't find that my brand of atheism, this sort of aggressive, accusative atheism, I don't find that it is destructive at all, in any way. Because if I deconstructed this thing and then found that it had been glued together, or it had been sort of wedged together, and it never really was the way, it never really fit together the way it was intended to fit together to begin with, I'm not destructive when I say these parts don't fit. I'm not engaging in a destructive process when I deconstruct an argument. And I think that this pistol is a pretty good analogy for most large systems of belief, most approaches, most methods, because invariably they form a system of arguments, a system of ideas, each fulfilling a particular function, as with this thing. If you take away any of those parts, it ceases to function as originally intended. Science is a very good example. I mean, chemistry pretty much operates on its own. Physics pretty much operates on its own. Biology, some overlap with chemistry. But all of the large disciplines in science are able to operate more or less on their own. But when you bring them together and you form what we call science, when you let them all knit and work together like cogs and gears, you have, well, I think the most profound and important idea in the history of mankind, science as a whole. When you let them work together like that, you have a pretty powerful thing in your hands. And it's only powerful because those parts work together. So you can deconstruct science, though, and in fact it invites you to deconstruct it. And when you deconstruct it, you look at all of its individual components, and you can even give them a cleaning, as I've done tonight, and put the whole thing back together. And it works very much as intended. And in fact, every now and then somebody takes it apart and sees a new way of doing something, a more efficient way, or discovers a new use for the tool, and science as a whole is improved. Pretty remarkable, in fact. On the other hand, when you deconstruct theist arguments, you find that they almost invariably fail to come back together as their progenitors claimed they fit together. Something was wedged in where it shouldn't have been. Something never fit together to begin with. So when you deconstruct their arguments and you're left with this pile of scrap in front of you, you are not engaging in a destructive process when you point out that doesn't come together to form what you think it does. And it's not destructive in any way to say that you're not allowed to engage in the creative process that you think you're able to. So that is more or less my response to that criticism. It's not destructive to point out that your argument fails when it does. Your argument never succeeded. I'm not tearing anything down, I'm just pointing out your inability to build something up. So, you want to accuse me of being a bully at the beach kicking sandcastles? Well, why don't you start building your castles of stone? In the meantime, I'll stick with the ideas that work. This is a godless heathen, signing off.